It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we welcome a former veteran from the college and pro football ranks. He played his college ball for the University of Notre Dame and Syracuse University before he was drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals in the fourth round of the 1991 NFL Draft. He split time between the Bengals, along with the New York Jets, New England Patriots, and the Philadelphia Eagles. He ranks among the all-time leaders in Syracuse University receptions and ranks fifth in career yards. It's Rob Carpenter. He joins this live stream of Listen In with KNN right now. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
Hello, everyone, and happy Thursday. Welcome into another new live stream edition of Listen In with KNN, presented by Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM. With me, your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. Now we know it's Thursday and Thursday Night Football. So, look, I wanted to do a preview show with someone who knows the game of football very, very well. Joining me today live on the show is none other than Rob Carpenter, former Syracuse Orangemen. So we're going to talk about Syracuse, sorry, my Georgetown people, as well as a former NFL wide receiver with the Patriots, the Jets, and the Philadelphia Eagles. So we're going to have some fun today with Rob again. So excited to be joining him. And thank you all so much for joining us on all of our different platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Welcome into today's show. I encourage you all to bring your questions and your comments. We want this to be interactive. Rob has a great story. We're going to touch on that and so much more. So without further ado, please help me welcome in none other than Rob Carpenter. And this segment is presented by Skin Beauty Bar DC. Rob, how are you today? Thanks so much for joining me.
I appreciate you having me on, Kelsey. I really do.
It's my pleasure. How are you this Thursday? What have you been up to lately, Rob?
I'm just trying to stay healthy. That's about it.
That's what we're all trying to do, right? We're still trying to stay healthy. We're still trying to get out of this pandemic. I hope there's an end in sight soon, Rob. I feel like we were all just like, we're pandemic'd out.
We are. And I think we are, coming to see the end of it pretty soon. Pretty much all the states are trying to get back to some type of normalcy that can be out there.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're going back to the normal that we're used to, but some type of normal is better than what we've gone through for the past year and a half.
It'll be a new normal. And you're in New York, right, Rob?
Yeah, I'm in New Jersey. I'm right outside New York City. I'm like 15 minutes outside the city.
Yeah, so right there, because I know New York had changed so much during the pandemic, right? A lot of people leaving. Are people back in the city, actually? Like when you go into the city, is it back full? Or are people still kind of staying away?
No, it's actually full. People are out. Like when they say we're outside, people are outside. So
all right. It's the real outside.
Yeah, it's pretty much almost back to normal right now.
Very, very exciting and very, very cool. And I know you've been busy as well. I was stalking your social media. I'm going to say that because I had to be prepared for you to come on the show. So recently you did the MetLife Corona punt, pass, and kick competition. Tell us all about that and what fun it was for you to participate.
It was actually pretty good. The kids part of it wasn't there last night. It was the adults, which I was kind of surprised about that. The fact that so many adults came out to actually participate in it. But it was a good experience for them. They got to meet a couple of us. Myself and Tony Richardson was there, former Jet chief. And they just got to do something that they had never done and always wanted to do is be a part of an NFL stadium doing something that they love. So it was a fun time out there. We were out there for a few hours, and everybody out there enjoyed everything that was going on.
Nice. I would love to do that one day, but I also don't want to embarrass myself. That's my heyday, Rob. I did do NFL flag football league, so I am putting that out there. Your girl,
don't knock it. I mean, there were some women out there. And believe it or not, there was a woman who actually won the passing contest.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Very exciting. See, what can't women do, Rob? Right? I mean, we can do everything now.
We can do everything.
It's not uncommon, right, to see women playing football. I mean, we see so many stories about this, and I feel like we're making progress, right, Rob? We see women referees, we're seeing, women football coaches, and so much more. I mean, you come from the Jets organizations, an organization that has had a woman scout who's been on the show, an organization that's had a woman coach. Do you feel like we're making the right progress with football in terms of, being inclusive? We had the first active NFL player come out as gay. Like, I mean, do you feel like football's kind of making the right strides and kind of being in terms with society and moving forward and advancing?
It's coming along. It's probably going to still take a little while. There's still those stereotypes that are out there. Just have to break down those doors, and the doors are slowly breaking down. And everybody's being included. And like you said, I'm used to being a part of the fact that Connie was the first woman scout, and we have had the women coaches out there, and it's nice to see. It's just unfortunate that there's some people that's still out there that have that old stereotype that women can't do everything, but women are a part of everything that we do. Football included. Women are playing football now. And are part of coaching football now. Whether it's flag, whether it's full contact football, women are out here doing everything that as far as men can do. They're doing it. So I'm enjoying the transition. But like I said, it's just going to take a little while for it to fully come to grips with everybody that's still around. If you want to call it the good old boys network, that's still there. Once those doors are broken down, it should be all inclusive, fairly soon.
And that's what we want, right? Inclusivity. That's a hard word to say, everyone. We want it to be inclusive as we move forward. And like you said, I think it's starting to change. Of course, we want to see more progress, but hopefully the stride is going the right way. All right, we're already getting Jets questions for you. Hold up, Antoine. Let me get to that part with Rob. I'm getting to know him still, everyone. Again, this is mine and Rob's first time meeting. And we, of course, connected over Twitter. I just love all of the great stuff that you're doing. Also, something I saw you like to do in your spare time. I saw you went to the classic car show. So do you like to collect? Is that one of your hobbies, Rob?
It used to be, but I've just been in tune with cars like that ever since I was a little kid. My godfather was a drag racer, and my godbrother actually still tunes cars. So it's been part of my bloodstream, forever. And anytime there's a car show that's around, I try to get to it. Last few years with COVID, shut everything down, but once they brought one out there to closer to my neighborhood, you see I was there. That's just something that I just like to see. I like to see the old classic cars. I like to see the way people actually keep them, keep them tuned up. So it's always nice when they actually, turn them on and get them revved up. That always gets everybody that's around them, a little hype. But that's something I've been a part of for pretty much all my life.
That's exciting. I'll tell you, every time we see like the old classic cars in DC, like I'm one of the people that stop and stare because like you, I gained a love of cars and racing and all that from my dad, actually, much like you. So I'm like you, I need to get to a classic car show. There was one this weekend, but I was busy, but I'm going to get to one, Rob, soon. That just inspired me to do this. And then also I heard the dog barking in the background. Right? I know you're also, it's a pit bull lover, right?
Yes. Yeah, he's out there. He's out there. Can't bring him too close because once he starts barking, he'll take over the show. But he's out there.
That's exciting. Okay, so we touched on your background growing up. We talked about your love of cars and dogs, but I want to dig deeper into this because you're from Amityville, right, New York. Yes. And I'll tell you, so I love scary movies. So right now it's like my favorite time of year. And of course, my first time hearing of Amityville was the Amityville horror. It's like that's something that you get a lot from people that aren't from the area, Rob.
Everybody. And even when I'm introducing myself to everybody and I say Amityville and I say, yes, it's the place where the horror house is. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So let's talk about Amityville.
It's, Amityville was diverse. It was sort of segregated, but diverse. I'm from the northern part of Amityville. And that's the section where you have the Spanish people, you have the black people. Mm-hmm. The south section where the actual house is, where my high school is. My high school is actually literally like a block away from the horror house. So everybody that comes around there can actually just drive down the street and you can see the house. People live there. People have always lived there. It's not like the movie. Yeah, it's not a house that's actually sitting on an empty lot or anything like that. It's a regular residential neighborhood.
The movie's exaggerated.
Yeah. I used to drive past it or ride past it every day during the summer when I was growing up because there's a fishing pier that's right down the street from it. So I used to go fishing in the summer and just ride right past with me and my friends on our bikes, going past it every day. You'll see the people that come down the block and they just stand outside taking pictures of it. But, you know, my neighborhood was pretty much like every other neighborhood that was around in any other suburban area, even though, you know, we're fairly close to New York City, you know, but when it came down to the 80s and in the 90s in the era of the drug era and the crack era, everything kind of went haywire. You know, my section of the neighborhood wasn't so great. We had the gangs, we had the drug runners, we had, you know, the prostitution, we had all of that in my area. I was just fortunate enough to be, you know, in sports, and you know, the guys that were in my neighborhood who were the big time guys, they knew me, and they knew that I was in sports and I was looking for a way out. So they basically just, you know, put it out there like leave him alone, let him do what he does.
Yeah, you were like protected in a sense, right? Like, look, let Rob do Rob.
Yeah. And fortunately, I had people that were around that were like that, you know, that basically said that and let me just come and go where I was, you know, whether I was going into the park to play basketball or going to play baseball, whatever it was, you know, so I was fortunate in that aspect.
Yeah, you know, I'm glad you touched on that because, you know, oftentimes we talk about like sports kind of being a thing that kind of keeps people, Rob, off the streets or out of trouble or things like that. I'm a Boys and Girls Club kid myself, and I know how much just having that place to go is so important for so many kids. But for you, tell me what first made you kind of pick sports? Like, you know, what was that kind of inspiration that you said, you know what, I want to be an athlete? Well,
my dad was into sports heavy. You know, that's basically what got me into it. My dad loved baseball. He loved football. Yeah. He loved basketball. So my house was a sports household. My mom liked sports. It's a little ironic. You know, growing up in New York, my dad was a Yankees fan. My mom was a Mets fan. So it's a little ironic in that aspect. But you know, for the most part, you know, Saturdays and Sundays, if you were in my house, on the TV, there's some kind of sport that was on the TV. And you know, my dad actually asked me when I was in the 4th grade. He was like, "Do you want to play football?" Because I played in the street all the time. He's like, "Do you want to play organized football?" I said, "Yeah." He put me into it in the 4th grade, and there I was. I stuck with it from that point on. But I was playing baseball around. I played Little League baseball. I stopped playing baseball when I got into high school. But you know, basically it was just football and basketball for me at that point. I played basketball pretty much all year round. I was more into basketball than I was in football, honestly. And pretty much anybody that knew me growing up would have told you or would have expected me to play basketball instead of football.
Yeah.
Because I played basketball all year round. Even during football season in high school.
You're still playing basketball?
Yeah, I was still playing basketball. I went to the open gyms and everything after practice. So I was a basketball junkie. But, you know, sports basically was in my neighborhood where it was either sports, music, or some type of entertainment that kept people off the streets. There's a lot of people from my area that, you know, that got into music. So you had basically those choices right there. And I just stuck with sports and the guys that I hung around with, we basically did the same thing. So, you know, we stuck to it and, you know, that got me out of there.
Yeah, and it worked out pretty well for you, Rob, reaching the highest level of the sport of football. I'm curious, do you still play basketball now? Any pickup, Rob, that you're currently doing?
I can't now because of my knee, but if you know, if I didn't have a bad knee, I would probably still be out there.
Year round, right?
It's still my thing.
Yes, you could. And I'm curious, you said you're a Yankees fan, so that was your dad, you said, right? That was a Yankees fan, so you ended up pairing with him, but also a Knicks fan. So I had to shout out the Knicks, right? Because looking pretty good right now, Rob, if I must say.
I'm happy. I was pretty much ecstatic with the moves they made in the offseason. You know, a lot of people that I talked to, they didn't really like the Evan Fournier move, and I was like, nah, this dude is going to be the one that actually might get us over the hump. You know, because we need another scorer, and I'm kind of discounting the years that he had in Boston because I didn't think he really fit in there too much. But if you watched him when he played in Orlando, you know, he was a scorer. He's a guy that actually get his own buckets anytime that he wanted to, and fit into the scheme of what they were doing. And I just think that he could be that guy here with the Knicks as well. You know, having basically the last 10 years of futility with New York Knicks basketball, you know, it's finally having something that can come around for everyone in New York to look up to. And if you've watched the games that have taken place in the Garden so far, you see New York Knicks fans are some of the most passionate fans that are around. You know, the Garden is full, and I like to see it. That's one of the best places to actually watch a basketball game I've ever been.
So true.
And it's not just me being a homer as far as a Knicks fan. I've been around to a few arenas, and being in Madison Square Garden, that's an experience that I wish everybody could have.
You're so right. There's nothing like it. Like you said, it's like you remember your first time and then you want to keep going back as much as you can. Like, I'm excited for Knicks fans. Y'all are pretty hype. We're going to let y'all have y'all moments playing like that. So, look, I give props where they're due. Exciting game tonight as well, right, for the Knicks, taking on the Chicago Bulls, right?
Yeah, it is.
I was excited right now, too. The Chicago Bulls are undefeated. Like, I'm letting Chicago have their moment as well, Rob. What a basketball season it's been. We got the Lakers, losing after having a 26 lead. Like, I mean, we got Russell Westbrook ready to throw hands. Like, everything's been happening.
It's a little weird to start the season, but I think the Eastern Conference is going to be really, really competitive. There's so many teams like the Bulls that have made upgrades to their rosters. And it's just going to be so competitive out there in the East. Everybody's looking at the Bucks or the Nets to being the top dogs. Yeah. Honestly, that's not such a sure thing. I don't think.
No, we're starting to scratch our heads a bit about the Nets, right?
Everybody has upgraded. So if the season goes along and everybody pretty much stays, healthy, every team stays healthy, I'm not sure that the Bucks can actually, repeat. I'm not sure that the Nets, even with Kyrie, can actually, reach the pinnacle. Right. It's just tough. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be fun to watch. It's exciting to watch, Eastern Conference basketball again, knowing that the Western Conference was basically the teams that ruled everything.
Right,
over,
dominated.
Years, yeah. And how the Western Conference was always so competitive. It's just going to be that way in the East this year too. So it's going to be fun to watch. And I'm excited about this game tonight. Bulls are undefeated. They looking like a real top dog in the East. So it's going to be a good test for the Knicks as well as the Bulls to see if the Bulls actually are what they showing so far early in the season.
Like you said, it's gonna prove kind of who's the real deal. Like I said, I think it's gonna be a fun one. And like you said, talking about the East, we're also excited in DC. We've got this new Wizards team, and things are at least starting to kind of gel. So excited to see where this team can go. But like you said, I think for us in the East, we're excited. We've wanted some competitive basketball, and that we're getting as a former football player, Rob. So that means tonight you're gonna have it on Thursday. What are you doing? 2 TVs?
Yeah, it's gonna be one on the phone, one on the screen.
That's what I figured, right?
One on the screen back there and one on the phone.
There you go. You got to stay loyal to both. All right, and we're going to comment from a fan. I'm curious your thoughts on this. Antoine says the Knicks need a game-changing player and a new owner. Agree or disagree, Rob?
Dolan is one of those people that over the years, everybody has wished he would just go away. Just get rid of the team and just say, just let someone else run the team. I'm happy that for last year and to start this year, he hasn't been seen. So he's just letting them do what they need to do as far as running the team. I think we have the right people in place right now. And as far as a game changer, I don't think the Knicks actually need that right now because, the continuity that they have on the team right now, even though it's early, it seems like everybody fits the pieces that are there. You got Derrick Rose coming off the bench to lead the second unit. Yeah. And that's something that the Knicks had that needed. We all saw what happened in the playoffs last year against the Hawks.
Yeah,
there wasn't another guy that could actually just step up to take the place of Randall if he couldn't get the job done. But they have that now. They have Kemba, they have Fournier. Derrick Rose again can lead the second unit coming off the bench. So you're not going to be able to look at the Knicks now and say, okay, there's a unit that's out there that we can take advantage of. Right. Just as long as they stay healthy, because Mitchell Robinson being in the middle of that unit and being a rim protector and the defensive player that he is, he's huge. But if he goes down again, that might be a subject that they might need to look at. But as long as he stays healthy, I give the Knicks a shot. As long as everybody stays healthy, like I said.
I can hear that basketball passion coming out, Rob. I'm like, oh, wait, you put Rob on the coaching staff. I'm liking everything that you're saying. But like you said, right now, the Knicks, again, they're looking good. Are you ready to put them in that championship type of level this year, Rob? Or does New York need to calm down and just say, let's take each game at a time? I
say let's take it each game at a time. I'm not ready to put them there as far as championship yet, but being competitive, I think they're going to be really competitive in the East this year. I'm not saying they can duplicate being the fourth seed again because the East is just going to be too tough. There's going to be a lot of games that slip away. Like we already saw, they beat the Magic. They blew them out down in Orlando, and then Orlando comes right back up to New York and beats the Knicks in the Garden because they had a lapse in the fourth quarter. But as long as they get that straightened out, there's still going to be games that come down to the wire that they're not going to win, or You know, he might have a back-to-back and they just don't play well. You know, that's part of an NBA season. But, you know, when it's all said and done, and I think we come down to getting into the playoffs, I think they're probably going to be somewhere between the 3 and the 6 seed. I don't, you know, that's, you know, hoping that they stay healthy for the entire year.
Right. That health is important. Yep.
But, you know, anywhere in there, it's just so competitive for everybody. So once they get in there, though, I think they can actually get out of the first round this year. I'm not looking at a championship saying that that's going to happen, but I just hope they're really competitive, you know, for the whole season and the playoffs.
And Knicks fans deserve that. Again, y'all got a little bit spoiled last year, like a taste, right, of that success. So hopefully
that shows you the passion. That shows you the passion of Knicks fans. They got one win in the playoffs, and the city went crazy. Could you imagine them actually making it back to the Eastern Conference Finals? How crazy the city would be?
I mean, it would be unreal. First of all, I don't think any of us could bear any of our friends that are Knicks fans. Y'all would drive us crazy. And you know that passion. You know, this is what I want DC to get back to one day. When I was younger, I felt like there was that Wizards passion, but now, you know, we're coming back. Them first games.
The Wizards are going to be good. I'm not discounting them as well. You know, they showed it already. You know, the games that they played already. Again, the Eastern Conference is going to be really tough, and
it's
the Wizards
going to be a good one. Every
So,
game matters, right? I think
exactly.
All right, so now we talked about basketball, but also football-wise, you grew up, what was it, 10 minutes from the Jets facility?
Yes.
At Hofstra?
Yes.
So, of course, green and white, right? All in the blood.
I've been a Jets fan since I can remember. I had my first jersey was a Joe Namath jersey. My dad bought it for me for Christmas when I was a kid. I was probably like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
And my sister still has that picture of me standing there in the Joe Namath jersey and Jets helmet. But yeah, so it's been in my blood ever since I was a kid. I grew up 10 minutes away from it. My grandmother actually lived right there in the town that the Jets practiced. So I was around the Jets, you know, quite a bit when I was a kid. And of course, being able to watch them every Sunday.
Yeah, like lucky you, right? Like you said, I think Jets fandom, another one. Like you said, Jets fans are just, I mean, amazingly just loyal to that team and that fan base. I guess it's the New Yorker thing, though, right? New Yorkers, I feel like y'all just loyal even through the good and the bad times. And Antoine, okay, now gets your question. I was going to say this till the end of the show, but already we're talking about the Jets. He wants to know, what do the Jets need to do to change their fortunes? Right now, the Jets are sitting at 1-5, right, coming off the bye week. So let's just talk about the New York Jets, right? I think everybody knew they were going through a rebuild mode, right? We know Zach Wilson, quarterback, you know, we're still figuring him out, but then injury happens. We've got Joe Flacco shipping over back to the New York Jets. So like,
that's going to be interesting.
What do you think we can do to hopefully maybe at least salvage some of the season for the New York Jets?
I'm a realist, so I knew there wasn't going to be much happening this season with them.
Yeah.
You have a rookie quarterback, you have a rookie head coach, you have a rookie offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
You know, there's rookies all over the team. So this is going to be a real progress, that needed to take place for this team. And you know, if you were looking at this team and expecting 6, 7, 8 wins, you're looking at something that was really unrealistic. And you know, if you just look around the league, every team that actually is playing a rookie quarterback is struggling. You know, the Patriots are fortunate; 2 out of their 3 victories against the Jets. But and if you look at their other games, they've been competitive, but they have a rookie quarterback. So you know, things don't tend to fall the way of rookies in this league. It's just that, you know, Jets fans have been, you know, in the doldrums so long, they want things to happen right away. You know,
of course, right.
They were looking for a championship this year. You know, you have those fanatic fans, you know, that are out there, and they expect so much positivity to come out of everything, you know, every week. But if you're a realist and you're looking at it, it really couldn't happen this year. The one thing I was hoping to see was progress every week, because when you have a rookie quarterback, you want him to actually, you know, get used to seeing things, being able to read things differently, slow the game down eventually as the season comes along. And Zach seemed to be starting to do that. You know, unfortunately, he got hurt, and don't know how long he's going to be out. But this rest may actually help him. You know, he gets to look at the game from a different perspective. He gets to watch the game from a different film perspective, because it's not him that's actually taking the snaps. He gets to see what the other quarterbacks are doing. We knew Flacco wasn't going to play this week, but that's going to be an interesting dynamic going forward for the next few weeks, depending on how long Zach Wilson is out. Because, you know, if the quarterback that's starting this week, Mike White, doesn't actually play that well, and they insert Flacco, Flacco has the experience, and he played well in spurts last year for the Jets.
Yeah, right. He had some moments, like you said.
He
Were you
likes
surprised?
to get the ball down the field. The Jets actually have speed on the outside now, so that's something that Flacco likes. And if you've watched him over the years, you know that he likes to throw the deep ball. He really doesn't like to get the ball and check it down unless he really has to. He will sit in the pocket and actually tries to take shots down the field.
Yeah.
And that will help some of the guys that are on the team. He helped out Denzel Mims with that last year. Anytime Flacco played, Mims played well. He just didn't play well with Darnold because Darnold wasn't that guy that actually liked to throw the ball down the field. So, for me, I just want to see progress every week. Unfortunately, for the next few weeks, they got a tough schedule coming up.
Yeah, their schedule's not easy. Not easy at all.
After coming off that beating they took last week, you got the Bengals coming in here this week, and that's not going to be fun.
The Bengals are riding high right now, right? Everybody's talking about the Bengals and what they did to the Baltimore Ravens team, and now going to the Jets.
The Bengals are legit. I believe that, and because their defense has stepped up. That's the thing that was the question mark for them. I think everybody knew that Joe Burrow was going to be a legit QB in this league.
Right.
Everybody knew that Jamar Chase was going to be a legit wide receiver in this league. They do have other ones. With Boyd out there doing his thing, and that defense just needed to step up, and they're doing their thing. They have some unheard of guys out there making plays all over the field, and that's what they needed. And if they can continue doing that, the Bengals are going to be in the talks at the end of the season. When the playoffs come around, it's just that the Jets right now just need to just string a few things together, a few weeks together where they actually have some competitive games. Really can't expect them to win these games. Just hope that they're competitive every week and can get some positivity going for the remainder of the season.
That's what you want, just the competitiveness. I think that helps the guys in the locker room too, like you said, right? I mean,
it does.
The blowout losses, that's tough. But at least when guys know at least they had a chance, and like you said, that progress is what I think people want to see and what fans kind of demand to see each week, right?
Like I think everybody in that locker room knows with a rookie quarterback starting, they knew they weren't going too far this year. Wow. The defense knew that they were just hoping to be competitive. And keep them in games and have a chance possibly to win a few games. Right. Just like what they did against Tennessee. Granted, Tennessee didn't have their top two wide receivers, but they had to play the game, and that's what happens in this league. You have to play the game, and you never know what's going to happen. Defense kept them in it. The offense actually made a few plays, and the result was a win. Just hope to see that a few more times this year because you never know what's going to happen. For the remainder of the season. Few guys get nicked up here and there for other teams, and possibly they can get a few wins and kickstart that into the next season.
To next season. So as we look into next season, and it might be early to ask this, but off-season moves, anything that you want to see in the off-season already from just what you're seeing from this New York Jets team, like what do you think should be their number one priority? Who should they be targeting?
They need a tight end. That should be a tight end and two offensive linemen. That should be their main priority. Looking at the draft, looking at free agents. They need some few top O-linemen, right guard in particular, and they need a tight end that could actually make plays down the field to help out the QB instead of for the quarterbacks actually just looking out wide all the time to the receivers.
Right.
If you have a tight end that could command the middle of the field, that's big. It's always big for a young quarterback as well.
Right.
I've always said for years, and I've heard coaches say this for years that. A young quarterback's best friend is a tight end, and it's true. You see it around the league. You see it anywhere.
Like here in Baltimore, right? I would say Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews.
Exactly. Perfect example of that. And he's been with him, for a few years now, and he's been his favorite target. So that's a prime example of it. You look at Kansas City when Mahomes started playing. His best friend was Travis Kelsey. And so they hook up, and you see it all over the league and any level that you look around. If a young quarterback has a good tight end, it makes him better, and it makes the game easier for him because the easiest pass that a quarterback can throw is something that's right over the middle of the field where he can see everything. When he can't see everything that's going on the outside, it just makes it that much harder.
And, going off of that, for a young quarterback to keep control of the locker room when your team is losing, is there any leadership traits that guys in that locker room, Rob, you'd say will look for? Like you said, Jets know he's a young quarterback, right? They know they're not winning, but how do you keep control of that locker room and keep guys, each week being competitive, being inspired, and really thinking that they have a chance to go out and win the next game?
Accountability. That's what it is. When you see guys actually being accountable to themselves, that goes a long way in the locker room. If you don't see guys out there throwing other guys under the bus, that's something that's really a no-no. But if you see guys taking accountability for what they do and what they aren't doing, that goes a long way. Because if I'm sitting next to a guy and he's actually complaining about something else or someone else, and he's not getting the job done, I'm just going to look at him at the side eye like, dude, you're not really doing the same thing either. So, you can't really throw somebody else under the bus if you're not getting it done. But when you look at a young quarterback and he takes accountability and puts everything, as far as team in perspective, the older vets are going to look at that and be like, all right, this guy has the goods. He has a good head on his shoulders. And, if he takes the lead, we can go ahead and follow that.
Like is accountability, I think anywhere, right? It
yes,
matters,
absolutely.
especially when you're in terms of leadership. And talking about youth and youngfulness, we're going to go back to younger Rob. I want to go back to Amityville High School, Rob. You did a lot in high school, right? All Eastern States, all state, all Long Island. At quarterback, also played DB. You talked about basketball, right? Being a love for you, so you played football and basketball. But just talk about how high school kind of helped prepare you for the next level, which we know you went on to college and dominated, might I say.
Well, I was fortunate that football and basketball took me around. I say this when I go back to speak to kids at my high school and pretty much kids anywhere. I speak to people in general. I was fortunate enough with basketball and football that I got to travel around the country a little bit to see how things worked some other places. For instance, when I was playing AAU basketball, matter of fact, my first big tournament that I played in AAU basketball was down there in DC.
Yeah.
So, there was so many other AAU teams around. So it gave me a chance to branch out and look around and be like, okay, there's so many other places and so many other people playing this game. And I need to get used to, going to other places and seeing how they play other places and see how other people live, in general. I was fortunate in that aspect. So, when I got out into college, I was already prepared for the fact that, things are going to be different. I'm not home.
Right. It's different here, right?
I'm going to have to adapt to a lot of different things. And also my freshman year in college actually, prepared me for that as well, because I knew I wasn't really comfortable when I was with my freshman year. I wasn't comfortable on the football side. I wasn't comfortable just being out there at the school itself. And it prepared me when I actually was going to make that choice to transfer to actually have patience. And I knew that was going to be a big thing for me, to have patience. When I got out of high school and I would come back, I didn't play the game for 2 years, basically. So, everyone in my neighborhood was like looking at me like, hey, what's going on?
Right. Like, what's up, Rob? Like,
are you not good enough to play out there? What's going on? It's like, nah, you just be patient. You'll see. It's coming. My turn is coming. And that was the biggest thing for me, just to be patient, continue to grind, continue to work on the craft that I wanted to, pursue. And, just be that positive person that I was and always have been.
Rob, you learned patience early. I mean, you were very mature for your age, because now every kid, Rob, that you talk to kind of wants that instant fame, that instant success. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes because we live in this social media culture, I think people automatically think like that's what they can instantly do. Like every kid wants to be playing football at the top level, but that patience isn't taught. And when things don't happen a certain way, Rob, we kind of see people react to it. And, you talk about transfer, and I do want to talk with you about that, because I think the transfer portal now is a big topic of conversation. Some people saying that kids just don't have that patience anymore, that they're not trying to give their college or school a chance, and they just immediately try to transfer, hoping kind of for that instant gratification. So curious your thoughts on that.
It's a double-edged sword. I do say that a lot of kids actually give up a little too early.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that I actually, it happened to me in my freshman year. Some kids actually now in the transfer portal are in their junior year. So, they've been around the program for a few years, and, things aren't working out the way they hoped. I can see that at that point, because if you see in the cards that you're really not going to get your shot, because of what might be behind you or the way the coaches are talking, go ahead and take that shot. But if it's early on in your tenure at a school, freshman year, sophomore year, you might want to have that patience, because not everything happens for everybody overnight. And again, I was taught that as well in high school. I was one of the people that I could have been playing varsity football when I was a freshman. I was good enough to play varsity when I was a freshman, but the coaches that were coaching the varsity team at that point in time just said no freshman has ever done this, so you have to wait your turn. So my JV coach at the time was like, man, just be patient. So, I learned it on early, and I was fortunate enough to where the guy who actually coached me as a JV on my JV team and eventually took over and coached me as a varsity player. He was a professional. So, he played wide receiver in the NFL. And he taught me a lot of lessons coming along through high school of what it takes to be a pro, what it takes to actually, be out there, the type of mindset that I had to have. And, going back to that transfer portal again, like I said, I think if kids are actually in their, freshman, sophomore year, that might be too early for them to be thinking about transferring. But it's there. That's their choice. If they have a better choice somewhere else, the rules are just different now where they can actually hit the transfer portal and be playing right away. It just wasn't like that for me. So I already knew going into that, if I was going to transfer, I was going to have to sit out. So I already knew that I had to, just have that mindset that I'm not playing right now. I just got to wait my turn.
Waiting your turn. And you talk about some of the important lessons that you learned. I kind of want to stay on that lesson theme because something happened to you. And if you don't mind talking about this, the summer before you were set to join the football team at Syracuse, right, which you transferred to after transferring from Notre Dame. You're on your way home, right, from a pickup basketball game with friends, and you had a run-in, right, with police. I think, you talk about lessons, and I think these are lessons now that are taught. Maybe, I don't know if parents are teaching them to their kids now or if it's from like actual run-ins with police officers, but I want you to kind of talk about that experience and what you kind of learned from that experience and maybe how it kind of changed your perception of kind of what America is just from that experience.
Well, it was one of those things where in my neighborhood at that time, this was in the 80s. So that was the crack era. And, drugs were running rampant in my neighborhood. I actually tell the story every now and then that, it was either 60 Minutes or 2020. I can't remember exactly which one it was. They did a story on my neighborhood where, my neighborhood was one of the 10 most drug run spots in the country. Open air drug markets. That's what they called it. So, navigating your way around that, you knew that, police were around. You knew what their targets were going to be. You just know that, coming through that era. And the fact that it happened to me, just going home from the park, I was playing basketball, going home. It's not like I did anything out there, crazy. It's just that teaches you that everything is not for everybody. And what I mean by that, we teach our kids now, as Black people in this country. And I know I taught my kids this, you have to be aware of your surroundings, for one thing. And not everybody's going to be treated equal. That was a lesson that I knew already, but having it come, right into my face, where I was basically just pulled over because I was a Black kid that was just driving down the street. That was it. And the tone that the officer had with me at that time, it was just like, you know what, I really can't do anything at this point. As much as I want to. So I basically just got to let this go. I just got to let this go as a lesson, and know that, my surroundings aren't for everybody. And like I said, and, as it came along and I had kids, I just basically tried to put that into them that it's good. It's there, it could possibly happen to you. But you got to handle the situation in a way where it doesn't escalate to something that could be harmful to yourself. I basically just went along with it. You know what I'm saying? With the way the officer was talking to me, I basically just looked at him and was like, all right, you finished talking to me now? I can go home, right? Because that's basically what it was. He just wanted to pull me over just to harass me. That's basically what it was.
Right. Kind of make you fearful and scared, right?
That's all it was. Not every situation turns out that way for everybody. I was fortunate that way, but life in America ain't fair for everybody. So we know that. You look at what's going on now. You would think that, things that went on, in the 50s and 60s wouldn't be happening right now, but they still do.
They do. Yeah.
You still have to deal with it. Things are changing. You're not changing fast enough, but it's just how society is. And we just have to deal with certain things different than other people. That's just the lesson that I took from it. The lesson that I tried to instill into my kids.
I think it's such an important lesson because you talk about things happening then that are happening now. So more recently, we know this John Gruden email scandal, and we know all that's going on now with the Washington football team and people calling for the release of the emails. So for one, I'm curious, when you first heard about John Gruden and the situation and what was written in the emails, were you at all surprised, Rob, or you were just like, another day in America?
I wasn't surprised at all, honestly. I know Gruden's mindset. I didn't know him, as a person as great as some other people. He was my offensive coordinator when I played in Philadelphia.
Right.
So, I was around him relatively, every day for 5 months. So I kind of got the gist of what, his mindset was, how he thought. And I think Keyshawn put it out there years ago, how he felt about Gruden.
Right.
It was almost the same way that the feeling that I had. I'm not saying that I felt as strongly as Keyshawn, because Keyshawn really had a big run-in with Gruden. But, I could tell from, just interacting with him being my offensive coordinator for those few months that I was there in Philadelphia for that year, and just the type of mindset that he had every day. I wasn't shocked at all that those emails came out with him, speaking the way he did in those emails. And with the people that he spoke with in those emails, I'm not shocked about that at all. Not one bit.
Right. No surprise to you. And, as we talk about this, and we know this has long been, I think, a conversation that people have tried to bring to the forefront, and we kind of see what the NFL is trying to do to make it right. But it seems like people are saying, it's not enough for him just to have resigned from his position. We want more to happen, and we're seeing pressure on the National Football League. So, Rob, in your opinion, what would you like to see as a next step? Is it enough for the NFL to just put Black Lives Matter in the end zone and play the Black national anthem, lift every voice and sing at games, or, have the Raiders-Eagles games bring an HBCU band in Grambling State University to play? What can the NFL truly do to help race relations when the league is 70%, maybe even more percent African-American and Black, and this is where their product is, and this is where a lot of their money is coming from, with a situation like this that's so high profile, as a former player, and, I know you have your chapter meetings, right, with the NFL, PA in New York and New Jersey. I'm just curious, is there anything that alumni are talking about that can be done to see the game of football better today in terms of, what it's doing to kind of get back and make these things right? What would your advice kind of be, I guess I'm asking you, for the Commissioner Goodell?
Well, it wouldn't be just me saying it. We've heard this for years. You have to include all of us into it. That's the biggest thing. It starts with ownership. And, if the owners aren't, involved in actually doing any of this, and we see it right now with these emails from the Washington football team. They are unwilling to actually release those emails. Why wouldn't they be? Is there something in those emails that could actually, bombard all of the owners, a portion of the owners? Will it be bombard someone in the league office? But we saw that with Pash. That will be the biggest thing. If they ever want to really include everybody, it's going to start with the owners. And, this accountability thing is going to have to be, the biggest part of what they do. They can't hide behind, the shield, and the shield has been there. And granted, I was part of that. It gave me a life that I had always dreamed about, having, to be on that field. But when you see it from the other side, it's just things that are there that probably aren't going anywhere anytime soon. That's the unfortunate part. But, like everyone has said over and over and over again, if things are really going to change, it's going to have to start to change at the top. Everybody's going to have to be inclusive in this, and the transparency is going to have to be there. They got to stop hiding behind the shield with everything. We see it with the concussion settlements. We see it with everything that has gone on. And it's just an unfortunate thing, because this is a game that we all love to play. This is a game that we all love to watch. And the viewership is not really going to go down. We've seen that. People have tried to say that the NFL is going to lose viewership over everything that went on with Colin Kaepernick. Well, we see that's not true. People love to watch football. It's America's number one sport. It's there. It's just unfortunate that everybody can't be included in the everyday goings of what goes on in the league itself. And again, it's not going to change until the owners change.
Like you said, it's not. I think it does start at the top. If you want true change, something you touched on, like you said, they're not seeing any less money or numbers, I'd say, right? The people love football. Let's just be honest. That's what we're doing on Sundays, what we're doing tonight, what we're doing Monday night, because I think we've heard that, we said, okay, after the Colin Kaepernick situation, right, people are going to boycott watching the NFL. We didn't see the numbers drop. After Deflategate, people are going to boycott watching the NFL. Numbers did not drop. After the Ray Rice situation here, right, people are going to boycott watching the NFL. And, people are comparing the situation to that. They're talking about what the NFL did after Deflategate and after the Ray Rice, whole situation here in Baltimore. But all that to say, I guess many are keeping pressure on this. Are you surprised that it's kind of moving so slowly, Rob, even with all the kind of public opinion on this matter?
I am. I would think by now, especially, coming out of the owners' meetings, I would think something would have changed by now, and it would have gone pretty fast. That's just my opinion, but they're showing again that this is something that they're willing to keep close to the vest, and they don't really want any of this to get out. That's just, and I've said this on Twitter, I've said this in public forums. This is something I honestly think that someone out there has info on this, because the leaked Gruden emails, that's just the tip of it. I don't think people would just leak those emails about him just to get him out of there without a much bigger accountability for someone else, because the investigation wasn't on him. He was just a piece of it. So someone out there has the rest of this big bombshell. It's just for me, I just think that they're waiting to see how the league actually goes about handling this situation, and the league really isn't handling well right at this moment.
Right. Again, just so many questions, something that we're going to continue to keep an eye on. But I do think it's, kind of like a black eye, I'll say, I think, for this season, because it's something everyone's still looking at, especially being in the DC area, obviously kind of close to this matter and close to the situation. I'll tell you, fans are hurting right now. I think many are looking at it saying, we just want answers. We want transparency. And they're kind of like they're being left, in the dark. And especially, when all of this kind of happened in DC, and then, many Washington fans kind of being mad at how the whole Sean Taylor tribute, was handled.
That was unfortunate.
There's so many different things happening, Rob, right now. But it's hopefully there's progress again, because I know everyone loves the game of football, and I think the worst thing that you can do is kind of not be transparent to football fans who are your money, right, and are your products, are watching the game, coming to the game. We see the packed stadiums, Rob, right, on game days. Like, we're just not going back, right? And so I think
you see it. It's out there. And like I said before, football's America's #1 sport, so it's not going anywhere anytime soon. We just hope that the league decides to catch up with what everybody else is talking about, and just be transparent with everything that's going on. If they become transparent with everything, the game will be loved even more. I mean, they just got to think about that. The game will be loved so much more if they just let things be open, instead of just trying to hide behind, like I said before, trying to hide behind a shield with everything.
Exactly. And like you said, you have to treat stuff like kind of like what you like, treat things like you want to be treated, right? You never want to be around somebody who you feel like is always hiding something, not being transparent with you. But like, you'd have questions, right? You're not maybe going to deal with that person until you find out the right thing. So, all right, Rob, we're just going to happier times. Let's talk about your time at Syracuse. You had very happy times at Syracuse. So let's talk about Syracuse football and kind of, what it meant to you to have such a prolific career once you transferred, got to Syracuse in college.
Well, for me, Syracuse football was almost like the Jets. When I was growing up, Syracuse football was on every week. Not necessarily on national TV every week, but the sports channel that we had when I was growing up showed the replay of every Syracuse football game every Sunday morning. So me and my dad would get up and watch Syracuse football before we watched the NFL games. Yeah. So Syracuse was always in the back of my mind. My dad was a huge Jim Brown guy, so with him going there, the history of the number 44 at Syracuse. There's when I actually decided to transfer there, it almost felt like I was home already, because I knew so many people that were already there. I had high school people that I went to high school with, just going there as just regular students. Guys that I played basketball against, guys that I played football against in high school were already there. Right. So it was a big camaraderie for me to actually just walk in the door and everybody looking at me like, oh, wow, you here. And I'm like, yeah. I feel like I'm home already, right. and then, the friendships that I made even after that, I talk about this a lot, that, I was fortunate being at Syracuse in a time where Syracuse sports were huge. It wasn't just football. Basketball was huge.
Right.
Lacrosse was huge. Those guys on the lacrosse team had won 4 straight national titles. I got to go to school with 2 of the greatest, lacrosse players ever in the history of lacrosse, with the Gate brothers. And I still have friends, to this day across sports there. So that's something that we talk about all the time. Me and those guys, we talk about this all the time, that, the fact that we got to go to school together and be, on different sports and become friends, all this time. That's something that's huge for me, for them. And you don't really see that too often. I was there last month. We had our CBT alumni weekend there. And, I was talking to Derek Coleman. I was talking to Rodney Dumpson, who played lacrosse there. And, for us, it's always fun when we get together. Knowing, the times that we had there at Syracuse, and, that everybody was doing well. Right. Everybody's still doing well to this day. But we're also talking about the fact that, across the sports, those guys don't even know each other. It's so weird that, the football team doesn't, communicate too much with the basketball team. They don't communicate too much with the lacrosse team, with the track stars, with the women basketball team or anything like that. So it's just a really weird time now. But we were fortunate the fact that we did do that. We hung out together.
That's interesting.
So, it's just a weird thing now. And even with my son going to school, my son actually played football at Towson, and it was the same thing. They didn't really, cross sports as far as friendships go. And that was that's a weird time to me, and how things have changed.
It is, because like you said, I don't know, maybe because my experience in Maryland was different, and many of them kind of lived together, but everybody just kind of knew everybody, like you said. And sports, or you were friends with different sports team members, and I can actually speak to this since I worked in the athletics department. But that's interesting. Well, like you said, I don't know, it's just a different world. Kids are different now, Rob.
They are. I mean, we got to realize that they live in a virtual world now. These
maybe that's what it is. Maybe they're friends online and just not, I don't know, actual friends. Like, I don't know what they're doing anymore, Rob. Even now, we got Meta come into town. No longer Facebook. Like, I don't know what's going on, Rob, in the world.
It was just weird and even seeing the way that they live now. They don't, and that's probably part of it as well. These guys don't actually really have to leave the athletic facility. For us, we were happy to get out. Once practice was over, we were out of there. We out of there, and we going to hang out with our friends and do whatever we were going to do. But those guys can hang in the athletic facilities 24 hours a day now. They don't have to leave. Their living arrangements are 1,000 times better than what we had when I was there. Yeah. Kelsey, if I could actually explain to you what they look like now compared to what it was when I was there.
I need to go back and get younger and play a sport, Rob.
I say at times I was born a little too early, but the way these kids have it now, everybody should be living well, when they get out of college. But my time there, I have no complaints whatsoever. It was one of the greatest times of my life. It was those years that I had at Syracuse. I say it all the time. I would never give that back. If I could live that all over again, I would do it all over again in almost the same way. Because, learning the lessons that I learned as far as life goes, I did have a great coach. Dick McPherson was a great coach. He was a great mentor to me. So many friends that I made there, again, on and off the football field.
Right.
And just all those lessons that I learned, the things that we got to do as much as football brought to me. I got to travel the world, playing football. I went over to Tokyo to play. I was in Hawaii playing. So, I was around this whole world playing football. And I was there at a time where the NCAA was trying to introduce college football to the world. So I was fortunate. And, I was also lucky enough to play well in those games at the same time. So
on the highest level,
I got pretty much known from playing college football. So, I can't complain about anything that my time there. It was the greatest time that I had in my life, honestly.
And like you said, one of the top wide receivers, right, to play at Syracuse. That can't be taken lightly. But also, you talked about that Tokyo experience. And so I want to go back to your childhood, a kid from Amityville, New York, now playing football in Tokyo, Rob. You got to tell us what that experience was like for you.
Honestly, Kelsey, this is gonna be a funny story real quick. So the group De La Soul, those are my boys. We all grew up together. Those are my homies. So we land in Tokyo, and those are my boys. They had just got on as far as music goes. So they're just releasing their album. They're starting to tour. I land in Tokyo. We're going down the escalator to go to customs, and who do I see? I see my boys.
You see them right there, like, what's
Right
up?
there in customs. Oh, yeah. And we all just started chopping it up right there in customs. And everybody's looking at us like, what's really going on? Where do these guys know each other from? And finally they realized that we all grew up together. So it's like, this is crazy.
Wow.
Kids from Amityville all the way in Tokyo. On 2 different planes though. So that's the different thing about it. You know, I run into those guys, but you know, again, like you just said, kid from Amityville, small town on Long Island, being able to travel around, you know, being able to do things at the top levels of what we did. You know, De La's at the top level of what they were doing as far as hip hop goes. Yeah. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to be at the top level in college football as far as receiver goes. And, you know, I'm fortunate enough to, you know, be on the field there for only 2 years and still have my name in the record books there. So there's one of the top guys there. So, you know, I'm fortunate in that aspect, and I'm proud of that aspect as well.
I mean, it's crazy. Just think if you were there all 4. I mean, it wouldn't have been fair, Rob. Your records probably would have been just really untouchable. But like you said, to give 2 years and still be that way. Truly
people say that to me all the time. They're like, man, if you played 4 years here, you know, your records probably be untouchable. And it was a different time. The game was different at that time. You know, we didn't have 4 wide receiver sets. We weren't throwing the ball over the field. I mean, honestly, if we had a game where we threw the ball 25 times, that was a lot. You know, we didn't, you know, the way that we played, 2 receivers were on the field at all times. That was it. We didn't really come off the field at all. Again, there wasn't a lot of 3 wide receivers, 4 wide receivers. The game was just different. It wasn't where we throwing the ball 40, 45 times a game the way it is now. And again, that's where I say sometimes I was born a little too early. If I was born a little later, you know, things might be a little different. But I did the best of what was there. And fortunately, you know, I was one of the guys that was one of the top receivers in the country for a couple of years. And you know, the passes that we did throw, most of them came to me. So, I can't complain about that at all.
Yeah, it means you're doing something right on the football field. Rob, you just made me just relive those memories with you. I'll let you go, though, because from New York, you get to play, you get drafted, right? And you don't start with the New York Jets, but you find your way back to the New York Jets, the team that your dad bought you the jersey for and the team that you grew up watching. So that moment when you get to play for the Jets, like, what did that mean for you? And, you know, how did you kind of want to solidify your playing career in New York?
Well, it meant more for me to be there for the people who were behind me. You know what I mean? Like my family, my friends. For me to actually come home and play in front of them, you know, every day. Like, you know, when I had hair back then, and I would go back home and go into the barbershop. Yeah, that would be the talk in the barbershop. I just sit in the chair and just let everybody else talk. Because they're talking about me being home.
About you, right?
Yeah, so I really didn't have to say anything. And
you didn't pick for those haircuts then, right, Rob?
No, of course I did. It's my cousin that was cutting my hair, but you know, at the same time, I had to fill his pockets. But, you know, he's cutting my hair. So
it's good though. Yeah, you got to get back to the community.
Yeah. But you know, that was the thing about it. You know, I got to let my family be a part of that whole situation. You know what I'm saying? So I had the choice to go a couple of different places, but I chose to be in New York. That's where I wanted to play. That was from me being right at home. I knew where to go, where not to go. I knew where I was living, all of that stuff. Right. You know, so you know, that made everything so much more comfortable for me. Playing right there where I knew everything about everything. So again, for me, it wasn't just that much for me. It was about everybody that was behind me. So like I said, my family being able to come to the games every week, and if they want to come to the game, they could watch the game on TV every week. My friends that were there, you know, everywhere I went, there was always just that topic of conversation about what I was doing. And, you know, that just is one of those things where, you know, I'm not only proud of what I did, but, you know, everybody that was around me was proud of me, proud of what I did. So, you know, that's a memory that I'm never taking away from myself.
No greater feeling than that. All right, Rob. So I have you still here. Before we wrap, I got to have you help me talk about this big game that we have tonight. It's Thursday. It's football. We're talking about America's pastimes. We're going to do our Thursday game of the week, presented by All About Burger. We've got the undefeated Arizona Cardinals taking on the 6-1 Green Bay Packers. Give me your thoughts on this game, and who do you have winning tonight?
I think the Cardinals are going to win it. I don't know if you've seen a couple of my tweets earlier and during the week. You know, I have Aaron Rodgers as one of my fantasy quarterbacks.
Yeah, I did see that. Even though Green Bay's dealing with some injuries, Rob.
They are dealing with some tremendous injuries. So I have Aaron Rodgers on. I have 2 fantasy teams. Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback on one. Devontae Adams is my receiver on one. Oh. So I'm in a bind where, you know, of course Devontae's not playing, so he's out this week. But, you know, Aaron Rodgers has lost 2 of his top weapons. And I'm like, okay, do I really want to play him tonight against this team that's probably right now the best team in the league? So You know, the Cardinals are on a roll. You're not going to say anything about them. You know, offensively, defensively, they have it going. And Kyler Murray is just that guy that right now that is eating the league up, and he's not doing everything that he could be doing. You know, he's not even running the ball as much as he could be running. He's literally doing it through the air with the weapons that he has. And one of the things I'm happy to see, AJ Green out there doing what he's doing. Because you know, he basically has been, you know, was a cast off in Cincinnati for the last few years, and for him to come up big now and playing the way that he's playing and looking at Kyler Murray, have the confidence in him. And feeding him the way that he is, and you know, it's not just DeAndre, it's AJ, it's you know, it's Christian Kirk, got the rookie Rondale Moore, so they have weapons all over the place. And then for them to add Zach Ertz to that you know, whole mix, you know, I don't see too many teams stopping them for the rest of the year, to be honest with you. If they stay healthy, I think that's probably going to be the surprise team to end up in the Super Bowl, to be there in front of Tampa Bay. You know, I didn't pick them, and I don't think anybody did, you know, to start the season. But if you see them after 6 games and the way they're rolling and the way they're doing things, you're like, yeah, I don't think too many people are going to be able to beat this team. Because the defense is playing well as well. You know, they're losing J.J. Watt. That's huge for them because you know, the sack numbers weren't there, but he's a guy that actually had been playing a run really well in the interior of that defensive line. But they did get Chandler Jones back, so that's helping them out in a huge way. So I'm kind of fearful for Aaron Rodgers tonight, to be honest.
I know. He's going to be bringing the heat. And honestly, so I saw their last game, especially too, against the Washington football team. And honestly, I mean, I know I saw the final score, but Washington was key. I mean, they missed their own opportunities.
Washington had 4 opportunities, I think, if I remember, because I was watching part of that game. And I think they had 4 opportunities to actually to tie that game up and take the lead in that game if they had actually scored. I mean, the Heineke touchdown, with them taking that Heineke touchdown off the board when he was going into the end zone, they say, you know, he gave himself up, but that was unfortunate. But they had a few more opportunities in there.
They did.
Actually, you know, tie that game up and then possibly take the lead. And Green Bay didn't actually, you know, pull away from them. So that lets you know that, you know, something wasn't right in that game. And granted, you got to play the game out every week. And I'm sure Washington probably heard enough about their defense not playing well, you know, to start the season. So, you know, them playing the way that they played against Green Bay in that game, and keeping them down in the second half, you know, boosted them and probably gave them a boost for the rest of the season. But, you know, I just don't see Green Bay coming out victorious tonight at all. Like, I don't give them any shot, especially to Arizona. I don't give them any shot at all.
No happy cheeseheads, basically, tomorrow.
No, not tonight. I'm still contemplating actually taking Aaron Rodgers out of my lineup tonight, which is bad because my only backup is Matt Ryan. So I'm like, okay, do I really want to do that?
Yeah, I don't know, Rob.
I'm still beating myself up about that.
Rob Carpenter, it's been such a joy to have you on the show. Thank you for being this hour. Hope you enjoy Thursday Night Football, and then hopefully the Jets just bring you better fortunes, Rob. All right, we hope
so. I appreciate you having me on, Kelsey. I really do.
My pleasure. Have a great one, Rob. I'll let the dog get back your attention because I know who is this girl that's taking up all of his time. But thanks again so much, Rob. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. My special guest, Rob Carpenter. He's getting us ready for Thursday Night Football, which we have to be so excited about. Be sure to continue to stay tuned in to Listen with KNN. We have brand new audio shows that have dropped today and tomorrow, even a special discount code that's going to be given away on my special audio show tomorrow. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you to my team, and thank you to our incredible sponsors, Skin Beauty Bar DC and All About Burger. Again, thank you all so much for all that you do. We're going to enjoy Thursday Night Football. We've got some great basketball as well. So look, have 2 TVs or be flipping back and forth to do something. All right. Just too many great sports right now that you all cannot afford to miss. I'll see you all soon. We'll be back next week on Thursday at 6 p.m. for the live stream show. You don't want to miss it. My very special guest will be announced soon. Thank you all so much. Have a great one. Bye, guys.
Follow Kelsey on social media at The Real K Nelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM Fox Sports Radio, on Facebook and Twitter, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN.
Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio now offers official Kelsey Nicole Nelson apparel in a variety of styles for men and women. Fashionable shirts, leggings, hats, jackets, and more. Order now and get 15% off and free shipping. Just enter promo code KNN. Get your Listen In with KNN wearables today. And check out Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio with Kelsey Nicole Nelson.